Yeah.
Why is it so? Why is it?
I don't know. That's what I was looking at earlier on the other one.
Let me see.
You want to see all three if possible. If not,
Yeah. Can we just talk to somebody here to make sure that they can hear us? And we can do it?
yeah. Hey, Melissa, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Oh, I'm gonna jump off of here for.
Also control it if you need to.
Yeah, I can hear it on the stream. So she hears us.
Testing. Okay.
I'm all right. How you doing, man? Hope so.
Ready?
Got so many pounders up here. Good afternoon. Hello, my name is Pat O'Connell. I'm the chair of the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission. I'm joined up here with by my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Gabriel Aguilera and Gregory Nybert. We're thrilled to be here today to collect public comments regarding El Paso Electric's request to raise its rates for its retail customers. So just a little background on how that's going to proceed. El Paso filed their a rate request on March 27th. It was deemed complete on April 15th. And then deemed complete sets into motion a calendar by which we have to decide on what the appropriate rate relief is. And so that calendar runs through early of next year. But before then, quite a bit is happening, already. Parties to the case have intervened. They're examining the rate filing. They'll be supplying testimony that will end up becoming evidence on the record, and that's what we'll use to decide the case. And testimony is due on July 24th. Currently, we have a hearing scheduled for September 21st. That hearing will probably take at least a week or so. And then after the hearing, we'll have a recommendation from the administrative law judges that will conduct the hearing. And then the commission will have opportunity, other folks will have opportunity to comment on that recommended decision, and then commission will make its decision. And so there's quite a bit still to go on this rate case. Again, commission decision I'd expect will be early next year. So what are we doing today? Today we're collecting public comment. So today, we're early in the process. The three of us as commissioners ultimately have to decide the case. So our job today is to listen. So we've created this hearing, and thank you very much to Doña Ana County for providing this wonderful facility where we can be here. We've got quite a few folks in the room here. Quite a few have signed up already to give public comment. If you'd like to speak today, could you please sign in to the list in the back of the room if you haven't already. We're also have a Zoom channel open, and so there will be some folks providing public comment on Zoom. And then also importantly, just so you know, part of it is the importance of today. We'll also be creating a transcript of all the comments that are provided today. So there is a court reporter online right now, Melissa Gonsalves. And so she will be, like a court reporter transcribing what you say when you say it. Two things about that is that means that what happens today will be preserved. A document will be created. It'll be put on the commission webpage in the folder for this case. Also, just as it's a tough job to transcribe speech as people are saying it. So particularly if you're reading something, try to take a breath and go slow. I know that's harder than it sounds once you get up here. I know it's hard to walk to the front of the room and say things in front of people you don't know. So we understand that, but when we ask you to slow down, it's for the court reporter. Then the other thing it'd be great if you could do when you get up, start with just telling us your name, who you are. There are quite a few parties who have become interveners in the case, and so today isn't their day. Today is for everybody who will be affected by the rate case who has not already intervened. And again, as far as commission goes, our job today here is to listen. If you've got detailed questions about the case or just want to keep track of how it's proceeding, that will be maintained on the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission's website, E360. There's also a few PRC employees here today. So if you've got questions, just ask around the room and we might be able to find somebody who can help you with an immediate question or at least direct you to the resources so you can get to your questions. So with that, I'd like to proceed with collecting public comments. New Mexico Public Regulation Commission, we don't know how often or how interested people will be in providing comments. So we set this session up for 3 hours. We'll be here till 7 o'clock tonight. We've also, within that 3-hour period, we want to hear from as many people as possible. So we're asking if you can keep your comments to 3 minutes. That helps ensure that everybody gets a shot. And then the other thing is we do have folks gathering in the Zoom room online. So we'll try to just alternate between folks who have come here in person and the folks who are online on Zoom. If we get to the end of the list on either one of those, we'll just convert over and keep going. As long as people are here to give public comment, we'll be here till 7. So anyway, I'd like to start with the folks who are here in the room. And so the first 5 folks I have signed up here are Jerry Smith, Linda Van der Roosteen, Kim Hoffman, Kathy Lucero, and Mark Willard. So Jerry Smith, if you're here, and if you could join us in the front of the room and we'll get started. And then I'll try to give you a heads up where you're at on the list, so at least you know, expect when you'll get called. And then after 5 in person, we'll go ahead and ask for the folks in the room. And Patrick Rodriguez, who's the PRC's Public Information Officer, is sitting over there managing the Zoom comments. So I'll flip it over to him when we get to the Zoom portion. And so anyway, thank you for being here, Mr. Smith, again. Oh, wait, we got a process question?
Yes, sir. I signed up in the back, but you didn't call my name up. So I don't know if there's another list that's coming forward.
Yeah, this list I think was up here before you got here. So I think you're on the list, just not on this page. Yep. And then, okay, so if there is a button to push, make sure it's green. If not, if you can go ahead, and if there isn't, then you're probably live. So go ahead and just start with your name, sir, and let's get the party started.
Okay, I'm Jerry Smith. I bought a house in Picacho Hills 4 years ago. And first of all, I'd like to thank the commissioners for, I'm sure it's a real fun job going through all this. Anyway, JP Morgan made an investment in El Paso Electric a few years ago. And well, I made an investment in electricity too. I bought solar panels, spent $25,000 on them. The main reason was for expecting a return on my investment. And I was getting about a 6-year payback until 2 years ago. And then there was a tariff change with El Paso Electric. And my payback period went from 6 years to 10 years is what I'm looking at. Another reason I bought them was I was expecting if everybody put solar panels on, I think it would help El Paso Electric from having to increase the grid, you know, because we'd be reducing the demand for electricity a lot. So yeah, what they used to pay me for overproduction when I produced more than I used, it was 14 cents a kilowatt hour. And the change went down to 2 cents a kilowatt hour. I'm basing that on an average for the year. So, you know, my main concern is what's going to happen in the future. You know, I went from 6 years to 10 years. Is my investment just going to be a bad idea? It just seems not quite fair that they changed the rules. I wonder if there's a way that could be grandfathered in for people that made their investment. I don't know. Another thing, is it going to cause people in my similar group to try to get off the grid, you know, buy battery packs, and that technology is there. It can happen. And if, if things, we'd just be making a practical investment decision on an individual case. It would, I guess those are, my main concern is what's the future going to bring for solar panel owners, and is there a possible way to get grandfathered in? Well, I think, got 8 seconds. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your comment and getting us started. Next up, Linda Van der Roosteen. I'm not great with names. I'm sorry.
Very close. Vandy Ruststein, Linda Van. My maiden name was Smith. My father couldn't pronounce my new name at my wedding, so you get a break. So thank you very much for being here today. On your website, your mandate is to ensure fair, just, and reasonable rates for the people of New Mexico. And you are our protection, especially as banks and private equity begin to buy utilities, as we've had with JP Morgan buying El Paso Electric. Their goal, of course, is to make money. And their concern is not for the ratepayers. It's no longer feels like a public utility, except for you people. You're our protection. In the rather abstruse and recondite information that El Paso Electric sent to us, which, if you don't understand what those words mean, it means that this is very hard to understand for the average person. And when I would go on walks and mention this to people, they didn't really know anything about it. And honestly, with a 50% plus rate hike coming up in the next few years, this room should be packed. And I think part of the reason it isn't is because people can't understand this. And so in the future, if you could require that anything that has to go out to the public be written for the public, I'd appreciate that too. And then finally, the 10.7% guaranteed return on equity. I mean, honestly, do any of us get that? And should they really get that? That's just unheard of without any risk. And so I really would appreciate if you look at that and everything else in this proposal from the point of view of New Mexico families. Thank you very much.
Yeah, next signed in is Kim Hoffman.
I declined, they've actually.
Okay, great, thank you. And then we had Kathy Lucero. Then after Kathy, Mark Willard and Cindy Haber.
Hello. I've lived in Las Cruces since 1980, and I'm a homeowner. And I'm sorry. And every January and every August, the rates double for the electric company. Well, this is a border town. It is a college town. It is retiree town. It's a military town. We're not rich like Santa Fe. And the rates just keep going up and up and up. And now with this Project Jupiter coming in, will the rates go up because of them too? So that's like a double shot for all of homeowners in Las Cruces. Sorry. It just drives me crazy. But you guys are nuts.
Thank you. I think next was Mark Willard. And then Cindy Haber, and then we'll go to Zoom.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Willard. I'm a homeowner and ratepayer here in Las Cruces. I'm a retired telecommunications executive. and moved here from Dallas last August. Been here since August. And among other things, I used to testify on state utility commissions on issues, and I'm familiar with rate of return regulation. I did read a couple of newspaper articles on El Paso Electric's proposal, and they stated that in part, the rate case was based on anticipated electric needs from future data centers. And that's part of what's driving it. My concern is that I don't want to see residential ratepayers paying for that part of their proposal that is going to support infrastructure based on their projections for data centers, which very likely may be needed. What I would suggest is that they be required to separate the costs that they've submitted that are being driven by that, and ideally submit a separate rate case for that component of their needs with pricing that would be paid for by the commercial users. That's my largest concern. I understand that El Paso Electric has not had a rate increase for a while. And I'll be honest, the rates here right now are quite a bit lower than I was paying in Dallas. And we are growing. And that's, there is a justification, I think, or a case to be made for that. But it's the commercial component, and especially anticipation of data center infrastructure that concerns me. So I'll give back my minute. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Get close to the microphone, please.
Hi, my name is Cindy Haber. First, I want to tell you that this is New Mexico's beautiful country, beautiful country. We have sunshine, we have beautiful mountains, deserts, land, water, wind. We have all these wonderful resources to have renewable energies. But these renewable energies belong to us. So we need to have a say in what happens with our renewables. At this time, I also want to mention that clean energy creates more jobs, 3-to-1 over fossil fuel. I read that letter. They plan on talking about fossil fuel. I don't want my money going in to pay or tax a rate on my electricity for fossil fuel companies to create more pollution in our air. I support clean energies in the area. I do not support adding my money that I'm spending in my rate increase going towards data centers. Texas is full of data centers. We're getting ready to have a huge data center in Santa Teresa. I don't want to be paying for them. Private equity is raping us. It's taking our money. It's taking the power away from the people. If I had a choice and I had a vote, I would want our utilities to be public owned, public controlled, not by some huge equity firms that are taking away citizens' rights and threatening our democracy. We are deregulating them. They don't care about us. It's their bottom line. It's to pay for their bonuses and their investors. They don't care about us and the way we live. And the rate going up as much as it is now, who says that down the road they're not going up more? Thank you.
Okay, so we've taken 5 from the room so far, and I'm gonna pass it over to Patrick Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, if you could help get 5 comments from Zoom, and then we'll come back to the list that's in the room. When we come back to that, we've got Sandy Lasso.
I resigned from that. She said it all.
Okay. And then Paula Groves, Laura Saiki, Stacy Allen, and Rebecca Mardos. So anyway, that'll be the list after we get through what's on Zoom, and then I'm sure you're on page 2.
I'm not mentioned yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And on Zoom, just want to remind people to please state your full name right before you provide your comment. And I'll start with Saul Solis.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you guys hear me? If somebody can give me a thumbs up.
We can hear you, Saul. Go ahead.
Great, great. So once again, my name is Saul Solis, and I reside here in Las Cruces, the Metro Verde area. And I especially have a concern after reading a little bit about what El Paso Electric says they're basing their rate increases on, what they've done both in Texas and what they're proposing to do here. And to me, it kind of seems like they're trying to burden New Mexico customers with a bigger burden than they have people in Texas. And what they're saying is that they're trying to recoup investments that they've made to either update equipment and things like that. And it just seems excessive from what I can tell, and I'm not exactly certain about my numbers, but they say they've invested about $1.5 billion total. They say about 400 million of those have been invested in New Mexico, although from what I can find in our area, there's been about an investment of about 7.9 million, $8 million. So I'm not sure where the rest of it is. And then when you take a look at the percentage rate increases that they're proposing and compare Texas versus New Mexico, they're at about 14-15%. And what they're proposing is to raise our rates up by 50%. And what I would say is that the bulk of the customers that they service are actually in El Paso. And the bulk of the investments that have been made in Texas. So I have a concern that they're unduly burdening New Mexico's customers with a big piece of what they say they need to recoup some of their investments. And to me, it's unfair and not unlike what El Paso did for their customers. I would urge the PRC to also, take a look and ensure that you're providing protection for your customers here in New Mexico. And I would ask for an accounting. I would ask for an accounting of where they said their investment went. And I don't know if anybody has verified whether it actually was done or not. And with respect to the data centers, I also have a concern that even though these entities say that they're going to produce out here in Santa Teresa, they're going to produce their own power, unless it's written in a contract or something, it's just what they're saying. It's not what they're doing. So I also have a concern that we're potentially going to face additional increases in the future if they go that route and start to produce power to these entities. So those are my comments. I appreciate the time.
Great, thank you. Next on Zoom, Heidi Alderson.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for being here and for listening to our public comment. My name is Heidi Alterson, and I'm a resident and a ratepayer here in Las Cruces. And doing a little bit of research, it looks like they're trying to phase in a 57% bill spike for the average summer residential customer, and 47% spike in the winter, which looks like about $55 monthly on a tax summer bill. Being that our only option is to go to El Paso Electric for our electric needs, I believe it's truly straining us financially, and we don't have any options. So we really do rely on you guys to speak up for us and let them know that it is completely unfair. Also, I believe the average income of the Las Cruces resident is about $49,000 per year. So this is an excessive amount of money for people to try and pay every single month, especially where we live in a desert area. It gets extremely hot. As my personal job, I take care of seniors and low-income people, and they're very vulnerable. And they could have serious health problems if they get too hot or too cold. So I'm in agreement with everyone else. I do not think that JP Morgan Chase should benefit off the backs of Las Cruces residents. A little known fact, this is when they were publicly traded as El Paso Electric, they made $120 million in profit. And what they're asking from us is it will bring in, they were pulling in 120 million, and they're trying to extract 70.4 million from fixed income seniors, families, and low income people that live here. So I very much urge you to say no and to help us out. So thanks so much. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next on Zoom, Jesse Watson.
Hello. Thank you for having this meeting. I am Jesse Watson. I am here with Donna Ana County Farm and Livestock Bureau. We are a grassroots member organization in Donna Ana County that seeks to represent our members who are involved in all aspects of agriculture, from dairy and livestock to fruits and vegetables. Our mission is to promote and protect agriculture in this county. Donna Ana has just under 2,000 farms and over 700,000 acres of farmland. Agriculture is not just a part of the economy in Donna Ana County, it is also a part of the culture. Donna Ana County agriculture leads as a top producer of chili, peppers, onions, and pecans. Producers in the last few months have been tasked with the responsibility to fulfill settlement mandates from the Texas versus New Mexico Rio Grande settlement. And in the past year, fertilizer has risen 11 to 12%. Fuel and diesel has risen 30 to 46%. So it is not a surprise that agriculture is struggling. As the cost of inputs is continuing to rise and the price of agricultural products remains low, our farmers and ranchers are forced to produce on ever-thinning margins. Our farmers and ranchers cannot afford more rising input costs. The agricultural industry has been declining and will continue to decline if we continue to incur rising input costs like the proposed electric rate change. Donna Ana County farmers and ranchers continue to navigate increased cost for the supplies and services needed to produce food and fiber. At the same time, the prices they receive for their commodities has not risen proportionately. While consumers often pay more at the grocery store, those higher prices do not necessarily make their way back to the producers, leaving many farmers and ranchers families to shoulder the rising expenses with shrinking profit margins. In a community that already struggles with food insecurity, adding the rising cost of daily needs can negatively impact Donna Ana County residents. We urge the Commission to consider the livelihoods of our community, our members, our farmers and ranchers, and the longevity of the agricultural industry in Donna Ana County as you assess this rate increase. Thank you again for letting us make comment on the revision of retail electric rates.
Okay, thank you. Next on Zoom, Dan Gillespie.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Dan. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Dan Gillespie. I'm a New Mexico State University graduate. Go Aggies. I'll be brief so others can comment. Please deny the residential increase in case 2500082-UT. A 57% jump over 2 years is not just a number on a spreadsheet. For a senior on a fixed income, there is no future raise to cover it. For an hourly worker, an approval means trading more hours of their life for the same electricity they've already have. Captive customers should not fund a private equity owner's additional returns. Second, I request that you separate the large compute load rates, rate 50 and rate 51, into their own case and set substantially higher rates for the future data center projects so they pay their own way. There are 3 commissioners. It takes 2 of you to vote no. I'm asking for 2 votes. Thank you.
Thank you. And next on Zoom, Jose Acosta. Jose, are you there on Zoom?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead with your comment.
Okay, I had actually sent them via email because this is the first time I'm attending. I'll just read it to y'all. I'm a resident of Las Cruces, New Mexico, and I'm providing the following 2 comments with questions. Number 1, asking for remuneration and reimbursement after completed infrastructure improvements is somewhat like thinking y'all have and are using a blank check. What infrastructure facility maintenance plans are in place to utilize sound economic practices and maintenance over a minimum of 5 years and preferably 20 to 30 years. This would likely facilitate rate increases prior to expenditures accordingly for infrastructure improvements. For example, since the public are paying the bills, government type financial planning can be incorporated accordingly, applying, of course, RFPs and or requests for qualifications, and if necessary, for contracted services. Y'all would be documented needed extraordinary expenditures prior to sourcing such, and in some cases request approvals from the PRC before expensing, and like for the PRC to take into consideration that aspect so that they can utilize good financial practices. Number 2, for those of us that utilize solar power and pay for our own equipment, what increases would be incorporated within this particular rate increase? The first year or 2, I was actually paid for overage power that was produced by my solar power system, and now actually have to pay based on the fees that have gone up, and as well as the reduced per kilowatt hour expenditure. So in other words, I used to have a negative balance for the first year and a half, and now my bill is closer to $20, and adding $50 to that would be extremely ordinary from what I paid. So I, for one, am requesting that as long as some practices are utilized, otherwise, and that's something that y'all can review, otherwise deny the rate increases. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. So we'll come back to the folks who've signed in the room, and picking up where we left off on this first list was Paula Groves, followed by Lori Saiki, Stacy Allen, Rebecca Martos, and Lynn Moore.
Good afternoon. My name is Paula Groves. I'm an El Paso Electric customer from Las Cruces. I strongly oppose the proposed rate increase. The plan proposes to raise base rates by 50% in 2 phases. In a high poverty area with many fixed income households, this is simply unaffordable and will hurt New Mexicans. I have a background in corporate finance, so I understand private equity in a way that many residents in this area do not. What I would request from you all is to first, please substantially reduce the overall revenue request by El Paso Electric. Lower the requested ROE from 10.7% to a more reasonable level that better protects the consumer, protect low usage customers from big fixed charge increases, ensure that consumers are not subsidizing new large load customers. Electricity is an essential service that we cannot live without. In a region with limited economic opportunity, rates must remain affordable. I respectfully ask you to prioritize the well-being of New Mexico families over a private equity company's full profit request. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Lori Psyche, and I don't have a lot to say. I'm a resident here in unincorporated county. And my home is all electric. So I don't have any other access to heating and cooling. And when I first saw this letter come through my email and I read it, was like, we're not making enough profit off of our current charges for electricity. So we need to raise the rates to increase our profit margin. And I had already, and I know a lot of people have it worse, but I have my thermostat in the summer set at 76. And it doesn't kick on until it gets up to 77, 78. So it's already warm in my home. In the winter, I have it at 68. It doesn't kick on till it's down to 67 or 66, and then doesn't heat up more than 69, which is okay. You know, I can layer up. But if I get a 50% rate hike, that's gonna push it down even further. And I'm not alone in this. And I just think it's too much of a burden for us homeowners. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commission. My name is Stacy Allen. I've been part of this community for about 25 years. I'm a community leader and an active volunteer. I'm here to express my support and thanks to El Paso Electric for their generous support for continuous to create positive change and growth for our communities through a charitable support avenue. Specifically when it comes to the Boys and Girls of Las Cruces. El Paso Electric has been a steadfast partner with the Boys and Girls Club of Las Cruces for more than 3 decades. By helping to build and improve facilities that give our youth a safe place to grow and thrive. The club has been a huge part of our family for the past 17 years as my 4 children, 2 are grown up, now they're alumni, and 2 are current club members, have called the club their home away from home. While no one welcomes a rate increase, I understand that a financially healthy utility is essential for service and continued community investment. A strong infrastructure today means a strong Las Cruces for tomorrow for all of us and more to come. Thank you.
And then next we had Rebecca Martos and Lynn Moore. And then I'm out of.
Good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Martos, and I'm a realtor here in Las Cruces. I simply wanted to take a moment and recognize El Paso Electric as a strong community partner. Through my work in real estate, I see firsthand the importance of collaboration between businesses, utilities, local government, and community organizations, and our region continues to grow. El Paso Electric has consistently been involved in supporting our community, investing in infrastructures, and helping ensure that growing neighborhoods and developments have the services they need. Excuse me. The partnership plays an important role in supporting the continued growth and success of Las Cruces and Doña Ana County. And I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to speak. Have a great day.
Okay, then we had Lynn Moore. Oh, there you go. And then after Lynn, we're go back to online if we have any, Patrick.
I'm Lynn Moorer. Thank you for holding this hearing in Las Cruces. I laughed to myself at the full court press I received at El Paso Electric's question and answer session at Doña Ana Community College on April 7th. Within seconds of arrival, I was surrounded by 3, then 4, then 5 EPE representatives who seemed anxious to smother any concerns I had and to put to dead rest any uncomfortable questions I had. One was so aggressive that I had to ask him to back off. Thus, their tactics gave away the plot. They asserted that the current exorbitant rate increase request has nothing to do with Project Jupiter and reflected only past investments in infrastructure, all made without our input, much less our consent, of course. They didn't want to talk about their profits or the high level of compensation for their executives. They claimed to know nothing about those subjects. I defer to the analysis and reference materials of experts on the details, like former PRC Chair Steve Fishman and Rocky Backus. It's clear to everyone who is not on the EPE payroll that this proposed total 73% rate increase for residential service is unjustified and should be rejected. This holds true for the other rate classes also. EPE's requested 10.7% annual return on investment exceeds by 3 to 4 percentage points the projected returns by experts over the next 10 years for the much riskier stock market. We ratepayers and energy consumers should not be asked to subsidize these excessive profits. As a reminder, utilities are usually considered low risk in light of the fact that they operate as monopolies. Prioritizing excessive corporate profitability to push infrastructure development is causing the growing affordability crisis for average customers. Ordinary people who are lucky enough to have a little money in some kind of a savings account they're planning to use for their retirement are certainly not earning a 10.7% rate of return. A line of U.S. Supreme Court rulings says that utilities have, quote, a reasonable opportunity to earn a fair rate of return, close quote. These rulings do not say that any rate of return is guaranteed. If the requested 10.7% annual return on investment is knocked down considerably, JP Morgan will still be able to attract investors. It will just enjoy less profit. I understand that the general principle of return on equity is that it should be no higher than the actual cost of equity, and that should be defined as the minimum rate of return necessary to attract capital. As someone suggested, in an equivalent situation in another state, if the utilities think that 6% is too low, then go out and prove it and have an equity auction. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna flip it back over to online, see if we've got 5 signed up there.
Okay, going back to Zoom, we'll start with Debbie Moore.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, Debbie, go ahead with your comment.
I'm having some issues, so I'm not going to turn on my camera. My name is Debbie Moore. I'm president and CEO of the Greater Las Cruces Chamber of Commerce, and I have a statement to read on behalf of our chamber board and membership. Benefits of a growing utility. As Las Cruces, Mesilla Valley, Doña Ana County grows, so does the need for reliable, scalable electric service. And El Paso Electric has positioned itself to meet that demand for homes, businesses, and the emerging data center and renewable energy markets driving our regional economy. A financially strong utility can invest in the infrastructure that growth requires. Rate increases are never popular, but they're often the price of keeping pace with the community on the rise. Sustainable growth starts with a sustainable utility. Thank you so much for your time.
Great, thank you. Next on Zoom, Jerry Pacheco.
Hello, commissioners, can you hear me?
Yes, Jerry, go ahead with the
Thank you,
comment.
thank you for giving me this time. Two things. I'm the president of the Border Industrial Association, which represents the Santa Teresa Industrial Base, which is New Mexico's largest industrial base. In fact, we're accounting for more than 60% of New Mexico's exports to the world out of this corner of the state. We urge the PRC not to disproportionately burden the industrial sector with the rate, the bulk of the rate increase. In past rate increases, that has occurred. Now, if you understand how to attract industry, the number one deal right now in attracting industry is not so much labor, it's not incentives, not any of that stuff. It's having available power. And so we've been partnered with El Paso Electric. They've been a great partner with us to ensure that our industrial base keeps growing. And along with that, in the communities of Sunland Park and Santa Teresa, we're seeing quite a bit of residential growth. We need to keep our infrastructure ahead of our growth if we want to keep attracting industry and good paying jobs to the state. So the El Paso Electric, as I mentioned, they've been a good partner, very good partner with us to make sure we do that. But please consider not disproportionately burdening the industrial base with the bulk of that rate increase. I'm also a Santa Teresa resident, so I live within the county. So I get to see both sides of the argument on the residential side and the industrial side. Thank you for allowing my comments.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, that's it for Zoom commenters this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Okay, so I'll take 5 more in the room. Do we have Senator Jeff Steinborn here? And then we'll take Samir Nolan, Israel Chavez, Rocky Backus, and Bridget Spadelia. Apologies in advance for what I just did to her name. Floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, Commission. Thank you for coming to Las Cruces. We really appreciate it. I am State Senator Jeff Steinborn. I represent about 50,000 constituents here in Doña Ana County. For your knowledge, we have over 30 colonias here in Doña Ana County, which are recognized areas of poverty. I want to say at the outset, Commission, I think it's kind of atrocious that El Paso Electric would be requesting a 50% increase on our ratepayers here in Doña Ana County. I think as a matter of policy, when we allow a utility to come to spend money without going through rate making, without going for approval on the front end, public scrutiny and everything that goes involved in maybe what we'll call normal process or best practices, then we're creating a perverse incentive for a utility to spend whatever they want and then stick it on the backs of ratepayers after the fact, diminishing your authority and our power as citizens to be able to vet that for good utility policy. I think it's a great example of what's wrong with, frankly, a private public, utility, investor-owned utility model, frankly, in the state of New Mexico, as opposed to public utilities. So that's issue number one. I would hope on a matter of policy that you would reject that and you would send a message that is bad form and highly subject to abuse. So number two, the notion that we would be subsidizing infrastructure for data centers is also atrocious. I looked it up before I came here. Meta, who of course wants a big data center in El Paso that El Paso Electric is going to be apparently building largest natural gas infrastructure for, made a net profit of over $60 billion in 2025. The notion that we would shift the cost of that utility infrastructure for their private infrastructure to ratepayers is highly offensive and outrageous. It should be rejected. And frankly, we should change the law here in New Mexico that ratepayers in New Mexico would never absorb the cost of data centers and of, frankly, microgrids. But this is where they're experiencing everything else. You have an opportunity here to say no. And I think I would urge you to do so. So finally, I want to urge you to reject this rate increase and, really go back to more of a consumer protection, public protection, taxpayer protection model of wanting to see these proposals on the front end before they're made and not after the fact. And I urge you to reject this rate increase. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Okay, next on the list is Samir Nolan, Israel Chavez, Rocky Backus, and Bridget Spadali.
Good afternoon. It is Summer Nolan. My parents thought it was creative to only do the one M. Today's discussion involves a rate increase, and while no one welcomes higher costs, I'm simply here on behalf of the Association Women's Group to remind everyone of El Paso Electric's ongoing commitment to the communities they serve. Beyond their role as a utility provider, El Paso Electric has consistently demonstrated a willingness to invest in local organizations, educational opportunities, leadership development, and initiatives that strengthen our region. We appreciate EPE's continued support of organizations that are working every day to create opportunities, encourage leadership, and make a positive impact on the lives of others. When businesses choose to invest in community organizations, the benefits extend far beyond any single program. They help create a stronger, more connected community for all of us. Thank you very much.
Israel Chavez. Thank you, members of the commission. I think it's sort of funny that the talking points of El Paso Electric are basically, if we grease the skids enough for local nonprofits, you should let us increase rates, which is weird because that's our money. I am the founder of the Doñana Village Association. I own a historic restaurant in this city. I grew up in this town. My family's been here for generations. And I can remember when El Paso Electric actually had offices on Water Street, which they closed. They no longer have employees in our town. They have made $140 million last year on the backs of people in this region, El Paso too. But El Paso can have El Paso Electric if El Paso Electric doesn't like being here. They can go back. We don't have to give them this monopoly. It's a choice. They make money off of this community. But the reality is that this community has been continually squeezed. And just because El Paso Electric gives a couple bucks to a couple of organizations does not give it the right to squeeze families in this community. And what is not being talked about is, I don't know what Debbie Moore is smoking, but small businesses in this community know that when families are squeezed by these rates, they're going to stop coming to these small restaurants. We've already lost several. Nellie's is closed. I mean, people can sit here and list how many little restaurants are now gone. And that is a direct result, not only, I'm not saying it's all El Paso Electric's fault, but that's a direct result of families having less dollars in their pockets. I founded the Doñana Village Association when I moved back after college to help support families in the village of Doñana, where I grew up. I have not once seen El Paso Electric come to the village of Doñana, except maybe when Rico was working for Mary Jane Garcia. But we have yet to see those investments come here. We have a hard time partnering with anyone because of El Paso Electric. They're trying to do streetlights in the historic district along Mesquite Street, but they can't do certain ones because if El Paso Electric's lines run over where you want to put the streetlight, you can't put a streetlight. So when do we get the benefit? When is it not just El Paso Electric's game board that we have to play on? I kid you not. The city will tell you we're not allowed to put streetlights on your street if there's an El Paso Electric wire running above, because El Paso Electric apparently owns this town. And we're not going to continue to be abused by a company that makes $140 million last year. That's 35% of the county's budget. That's how much money they made. They pay their executives exorbitantly. Not here in New Mexico, because we have no physical staff in New Mexico. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you want to talk to an El Paso Electric employee, you can't do it here because they close their businesses. That hurts seniors. That hurts people with disability. That hurts all kinds of families because they say, call on the line. So how much money did they make from pulling those staff? Nobody's going to talk about that. This rate hike is inappropriate and it's going to hurt families. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, my name is Rocky Backus. And I was an intervener in the 2015 and in the 2020 rate case.
I'm not an intervener in this case. I've made public comments to the city, to the county. Toya Curry will remember spending 3 weeks with me in the 2015 case that was done in person in Santa Fe. And I want to I've got actually 11 comments, so I may not get to all of them, but perhaps you'll have another round. But things to make it more fair, to make the process more fair. And I'll point out as much as I have time for in this period, but is the commission aware of the national utility conferences that have been advocating spending huge amounts of money on transmission and distribution because regulators don't scan that stuff? They can get away with it because it typically is not reviewed. El Paso Electric is actually filed for a 73.1% residential rate case here. 50% is the overall because it varies, but it's 73.1% for residential. Even though the kilowatt hour growth has only been 11.6%. And I've read the whole rate case filing, 6,000 pages, I think, thus far. Second, is the commission aware that El Paso Electric has an exhibit that shows another increase of an additional about 79% will be required in 2030? Is the commission going to give tacit approval for the investment that they've got listed in this rate case that would provide for the next rate case? Another 79% on top of the 73% now. I don't believe that's the way it's supposed to work. Will the commission follow the sworn data, even if it shows El Paso Electric should get another rate decrease and not an increase? If that's what the data shows, the staff's tendency is to say, oh, well, they've spent the money on this. They spent the money on that. We've got to give them money. JP Morgan's not going under. Will the commission direct hearing examiners to allow expert testimony and let the commission weigh the credibility? In the last case, much of the testimony was stricken. The commission never actually saw it. A friend of mine, Marilee Souls, executive with General Motors, master's degree from Harvard, and yet her testimony was stricken because they said it wasn't in utility specifically. But management of a business is management of business. I hope that you'll instruct your staff to say we can weigh the value, but not strike a bunch of testimony, especially from experts that are well qualified. And I'll come back if you'll let me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for that offer, Mr. Bacchus. Want to make sure we hear from everybody, and if we do have time, we'll come back. Bridget?
Thank you for having me. I have a lot of notes here to read off of, but I'm just make it short and sweet and just say a few sentences. I understand the increased hike and how it will impact not only those residents, low income, businesses, and so forth. I am a resident and I am a business owner, and I do feel the impact in all different directions. However, a healthy community is essential to have a sustainable community in its growth. With that, having a financial stability for our community can continue in investing in a critical infrastructure, El Paso Electric, PNM, whatever it may be, modernizing our system by expanding our capabilities and improving within our reliabilities. Any investments that we do within our communities and with the development within future growth, a new scale for our residentials, commercials, industrials, whatever it may be, these developments, we understand, yes, it will bring job creation. Yes, it will bring economic diversification and population growth. However, ultimately, we have to look at the foundation of our having a thriving community by ensuring that any infrastructure, including El Paso Electric, continues to keep pace with an opportunity that supports long-term regional prosperity. Of course, growth, whether again, I do have to give thanks to El Paso Electric because as a business owner, they have been there for us and they have supported us and we work very well with them. Do we agree with a lot of things that happen? No, we don't. Whether it's El Paso Electric, City of Las Cruces, PNM, or Terrell Lincoln County, we build around the state of New Mexico and El Paso, and it is very difficult. We do see those impacts whether we have to pay for a permit or any fees. But at the end of the day, this is growth for our communities. Thank you.
Okay, if my math's right, that was 5 in the room. Do we have any more online?
Mr. Chair, we don't have any new commenters on Zoom.
Stick with accepting public comment here in the room. The next 5 I have is Paul Curry, Brian Garcia, Randy Darden, and then Jan Noppet. So is Paul Curry here?
Thank you, commissioners. I'm a business owner here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. When JP Morgan Chase purchased El Paso Electric, they knew it was a monopoly, and they knew that you all regulated it for the benefit of the ratepayers as well as the electric company. The state of New Mexico limits property tax increases to property taxpayers of residential nature to 3% a year. They did that because they knew by law, they knew that it would be outrageous for a monopoly to be able to charge excessive fees to the people that have no other choice. I own businesses in other states and in other cities, and I have a choice of the electric company when I purchase my electricity there. We don't have that choice here in Las Cruces. I believe that this rate increase is extremely outrageously excessive. They thought, well, let's just ask for the moon. Let's ask for the most we can possibly get. Maybe they'll give it to us, or maybe they'll knock it down to something reasonable. Well, that's your job for us, because we don't have a choice. We're stuck with El Paso Electric, and 57%, 60%, 50%, when the cost of living is supposed to be kept between 3 to 5%, and all our Social Security people are getting such a small amount increase every year, they can't afford this kind of rate. So I appreciate the work that you're doing. I know the background and all the research that you do, and I would just ask that you consider that maybe 3% a year is something that's more reasonable for increases. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Garcia. I'm the VP of Business Development for the Mesilla Valley Economic Development Alliance. Our president, Davin Lopez, could not make it today, but he asked me to say a few words on his behalf representing our organization. Mavita supports El Paso Electric's rate case and recognizes the company as an outstanding community and economic development partner throughout southern New Mexico. Beyond providing essential electric service, EPE has consistently invested in the communities it serves through workforce development, education, economic development initiatives, and numerous community partnerships that strengthen our region. From an economic development perspective, reliable and resilient electric infrastructure has become one of the most important factors influencing business location decisions. Today, manufacturers, advanced technology companies, and data-intensive industries often view power availability and reliability as the first question that must be answered before any project can move forward. As our region competes for new jobs and private investment, continued investments in grid modernization, system reliability, and future capacity are critical to maintaining our competitiveness. The strength of our electric infrastructure directly impacts our ability to attract employers, support existing businesses, and create economic opportunities for the residents of Joniana County. We appreciate EPE's commitment to serving our communities and positioning our region for long-term growth and prosperity. Thank you for the opportunity to provide these comments.
Okay, next I had Brandy Darden and Jan Noppin.
Good afternoon.
My name is Brandy Darden. I am a community leader and I have been in the banking industry for 30+ years. So from a finance perspective, economic development programs like those that the Community Foundation of Southern New Mexico's New Mexico Economic Development Grants that we award annually, they only work when the surrounding business climate is stable, and that includes the local utility. Lenders and investors look closely at infrastructure and reliability before committing capital to our region. A financially healthy El Paso Electric signals stability to the businesses we finance and the projects we help fund. No one welcomes a rate increase, but a sound utility protects the creditworthiness of the entire regional economy. Thank you so much.
Next signed up was Jan Noppin.
Thank you so much for having us, listening to our concerns. We really appreciate that. It's part of our community. When I moved here 4 years ago with my wife, my neighbor told me, he says, the electric comes from El Paso, and we provide water to El Paso. Okay, I just wondered why. I did some research on some of the electric grids that we have here in the country. New Mexico has over 950 wind turbines up in the upper state. We visited half of them, at least, when we had to move out of state for a visit. This company is called the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board. What are they doing for New Mexico? The power is plentiful, but who gets it is the problem. I stay in touch with our Congressman Gabe Vasquez. And the other day, I shared an email with him. Thank you so much for reaching out on voicemail. I experienced a computer hard drive, which led me to believe taking care of other concerns. About the data centers, my view is irrevocably corruption, stealth on privacy, and an abomination on the local environment and the water supply they do not create themselves. They put the burden on us. This is unacceptable. Anywhere and everywhere. They want to create another AI. What does that stand for? Artificial intelligence? Remember, the word says itself, it is artificial. Thank you for your concern.
Okay, I have two more folks on the sign-in sheet. I have Brittany Nickerson and Lori Neufeld. So Brittany, if you're with us.
Hello, Commissioners. Brittany Nickerson, just a concerned individual. I just wanted to say, just like a lot of other folks in the room, I'm very concerned about this over 50% rate hike for individuals, let alone increases for local businesses and nonprofits in the area. As stated, my concerns echo those mentioned previously, so I'll focus on two main points. My main concerns are that in the notice addressing the El Paso electric rate hike that was sent to us previously, there were no concrete plans put forth for what they're doing to come into state environmental standards. which was cited as the biggest portion of why these rate hikes are happening. So I realize that the rate hikes are going to happen no matter what, but I would hope that we could get more information about how they plan to come into line with the state's renewable energy law. In addition, I'm concerned as to why the large load customers, which I think we know what that means, are not paying their own portion of the bill, as was mentioned previously as well. El Paso was able to negotiate these rate hikes previously, and so I hope that you can help to negotiate lower rate hikes for us as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Neufeld. I've lived here in Las Cruces for about 6 years now. I love this place. It's a wonderful community. I just recently retired. I am on a fixed income. According to the letter we got, the proposed increase is supposed to start January 1st, 2027. I have my El Paso electric bill that I received today. I used 47 more kilowatt hours this month than last month. Last month, I paid $36. This month, I owe $87.95. So that 50% increase seems to have already been a done deal. I find that very disturbing. As I said, I'm on a fixed income. You know, luckily I don't have to drive to work anymore, so that saves a little bit of money. But after I've paid all of my bills, I have maybe $100 left for the rest of the month. Groceries, everything else. I know the businesses and everything are saying, well, we've got to have strong businesses. If we don't have the money to go out and support your businesses, you will not have a strong community anymore. If this electricity increase, we're receiving the same amount of service, but we're expected to pay 50% more or 70% more. At the same time, Project Jupiter is coming in and wanting 10, 20, 30 times more service, and they are not going to be paying for that. This is an absolute travesty. And I know everybody said, well, El Paso Electric does so many great community things. If they're owned by JP Morgan, El Paso Electric is a front. They're not an actual part of our community, and they are not providing service to us. They are providing service to their owners. Thank you.
Excuse me, Commissioner. Those 950 turbines, the power goes to Arizona and California. Why? Thank you.
Okay, we have one more person signed in the room, Nathan Small. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, commissioners. Thank you to the commission staff for making it down. My name is Nathan Small. I'm privileged to represent House District 36. I think as you've heard, and I share the strong sentiment that this proposed rate increase is far too much, far too fast. I believe we are better served in developing the increasingly low cost clean energy resources that we are really blessed with here in New Mexico. Particularly as power generation costs drop from solar resources, and we see things like solar thermal that promises longer duration storage at lower costs, things that the state through the State Investment Council and others is investing in think those options need to be strongly considered as we look to maintain lower costs of energy. Affordability is a peaking challenge right now with the war on Iran that has driven up fuel costs, that will drive up food costs. Again, this is far too much, far too soon. I would add, Commission, want to thank you all for the very diligent work that you're doing. Perhaps additional work within our integrated resource plans and opportunities to drive lower cost generation and find storage or transmission options that are lower cost are encourage you and us to work toward those. Finally, your ability to have large load tariffs pay entirely for large load costs is yours now. I strongly encourage you, as you've done in the past, take full advantage of that. Neither the generation nor the transmission associated with large load users should be put on to residential customers. It is my strong sense that you all have that ability now. I urge you all, and I look forward to the commission really working to diligently implement that authority that you already have. Thank you all again very much, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Dramatic, we're getting them one at a time, so. So what I'm gonna propose is we'll do the two that have signed in person. I haven't seen Patrick. Has anybody else joined online? Okay, so we'll take the next two and then we'll take a little bit of a break and I know there's a lot of folks here who didn't sign in to make comment. I know Mr. Beckus would like to come back and finish his comments. So we'll go ahead and take James Chavez and Freddie Torres next. And then after those two gentlemen, we'll take a 10-minute break and re-sign in and recollect. So Mr. Chavez, if you're here.
So every single one of you, God bless you. You're doing a good job under the circumstances. My name is James Chavez. I'm a resident here. I'm a chef. I work all my life here in Las Cruces and El Paso, different parts of the world I've traveled. I'm a chef. So first of all, I just want to say, you know, the woman that was up here earlier, she said that most of us are on a fixed income. And that's more than, I bet you, about 50% of the city. So no, she's going to have to choose between buying shampoo and conditioner and soap and toothpaste versus paying her electric bill. You know, that's kind of backwards. Most of the equipment that the El Paso Electric uses to make electricity, there's no electricity at El Paso Electric without New Mexico water. Okay, so why don't we charge them maybe double or triple for the water that we pump over there? Doesn't that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense to you. I'm just a regular hardworking guy. I'm not in the government or anything. I don't want to be in the government, but I'm just telling you guys the facts. All right? You know, that don't make no sense. We're just gonna sit back and say, well, they can have the 50%. You know, we're not gonna pay it. It's the consumers, the people who make the city, the hard workers who make your sandwich in the morning, right? The people that are on a fixed income, they're gonna get hit the hardest. And probably they're the ones that worked hard in Las Cruces to build the community that we do have. And that's every single one of you. You worked hard. Okay, so why are you gonna get an electric bill for double or triple? No, we should bring them to the table and say, look, okay, well, we've been nice for a very long time, but you know, we value New Mexico water to make your electricity, so we're gonna charge you triple. You know, that's just be fair. Just be fair, frank and fair. You know what? Don't beat around the bush. Just get down to business. You know, we need to do that. We need to do that. You guys need to talk, and senators and the governor and everybody needs to stop eating donuts and let's take care of this, because 50% is a big increase, and it might be even a little bit more. It depends what kind of house you have. You have a mobile home. If you have a a bigger house. If you're on a farm, it's gonna hit you really bad. Okay, there's a lot of farmers that are gonna be hurt because of this. Okay, they're the backbone of our community, who we are, New Mexico. You know, they're gonna be hurt pretty bad. You know, so if they're gonna use New Mexico water, then they should be responsible enough to pay us what we asked for. Because we've been paying what they asked for how many years? How many years they've been, I'm not gonna say it, I can't say bad words, but you know what they've been doing to us for a long time. And another thing, okay? I don't, you know, they probably own the land where they make the electricity and they have those big machines or whatever. But, you know, it's New Mexico land still, right? Am I right?
Mr. Chavez, I'm sorry you weren't here for the introduction to this, but this is a day where it's our job to listen to you. So I don't have answers to your questions and I'm not
Okay.
gonna give them to you.
Well, I think there should be more inspections out there, okay, as far as the environment, as far as the people that live out there also. Okay, when's the last time an inspection was done of the dirt, of the land, of the plants, how the environment's being hurt? You know what I mean? But first and foremost, they need to pay triple for the water that they're making electricity with and charging us double or triple. Let's be fair, man.
Thank you.
Don't play around.
And then next is Freddie Torres, and then we'll take a short break.
So thank you, everybody, for being here and listening to our concerns. I'm a homeowner. I don't have a business. About 4 or 5 years ago, I decided to install solar panels in my property. And 5 years ago, it was very expensive to put those panels. Prices have come down quite significantly now. Before El Paso Electric was purchased or bought by JP Morgan, they were paying us a credit for whatever electricity, excess electricity we produced. During the summer months, they were paying about 20 cents a kilowatt hour. And in December, they were paying 43 cents a kilowatt hour for any excess. After they got purchased by JP Morgan, I'm getting paid 0.9 cents a kilowatt hour. From 43 and 20 to 0.9. And now, you know, I've had months where 300 kilowatt hours, they pay me $3, where a lady that just spoke for 50 kilowatt hours, her bill went from 30 to 80. And they need more money. We need to put them in check. This is a money grab. And anytime we don't bring out our concerns, they just keep taking, and they will continue to take until somebody puts a stop to it.
Okay, thank you for that comment and all the comments we've received so far. We don't have anybody else signed in at the moment to provide public comment. We will be here till 7 o'clock tonight, just because we know folks have jobs and might not have been able to make it here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So what we'll do now is take a recess. It's 5:23 right now, so come back at 5:35. And then in the meantime, if you're here and you have not provided a comment and you would like to, we still have sign up sheets in the back. Mr. Backus will take you first coming out of the break. And then we'll see where we are in 10 minutes. So thank you for being here.
And cut him off.
Okay, so we're gonna slowly restart here. Ms. Gonsalves, are you okay? Ready to go?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Mr. Backus, I know you've got some prepared comments and I want to hear them. I also want to try to make sure everybody's got a chance. So we're going to take you in 3-minute doses, okay?
Fine.
Go ahead and then if you need more time than the next 3 minutes, we'll call up a couple more folks who've signed in and then bring you back. So take it away.
A few weeks back, there was a meeting in Albuquerque for Electrifying New Mexico. Kelly Tomlin was one of the people on the stage for a portion of it. Afterwards, she came down and she's a very energetic lady. But I had asked about the 73% increase. She told me not to worry about it because the commission would cut 70% of it anyway. I didn't ask that specifically, but that's what she told me. Most of my comments are about the process and hopefully keeping it fair within the rules that the commission has. I would ask that the commission consider and look at El Paso Electric being required to keep assets allocated to New Mexico for New Mexico. They've been paid for many years, and reallocating them to Texas in order to supply data centers or others isn't proper when New Mexico is paid for. But that's what it appears in the loads and resources sheet that they've supplied. El Paso Electric has installed smart meters on virtually everything, I believe, at this point in the New Mexico area. They're billing for them. Will the commission require El Paso Electric to allow rate designs that will allow customers to save money by changing behavior and allow competition from solar and so forth? I think that's important. We had Elizabeth, I want to say her last name is Hurst, as a hearing examiner back in 2015. I think she's very smart, she's very capable, but I think she defers to the utilities and to history. She doesn't like new stuff, but we need new stuff right now. So I hope that you'll encourage them to follow the rules that are in place and consider all expert testimony based on its expertise, not just say, well, the utility guy should know best. Will the commission require rates that allow cost-effective solar and battery competition? The energy transition law is making them go to almost all renewables. But when you look at the cost, and there should be some kind of a cost evaluation the staff does immediately, $266,000 for this pilot, which was proposed, which I guess was filed for in April. $266,000 per home. That's a little over almost $400,000 per home for new construction after you add income tax and utilities margin. These are some outrageously priced projects. The staff needs to be looking at what's the cost of these things and what should be being done. If I can do one more and then cut off, if you just barely over, you want me to? I'll step up back. Thank you.
All right, and there, we'll bring you back. I've only got 2 folks signed up and then nobody else has added online yet, but I'll check in with them and then we'll be back. So next up is Natasha. I didn't have a last name on here. And then after Natasha is Jim Horst. Again, I'm assuming I'm butchering everybody's name, so apologies.
Hi, I wasn't planning on talking, but I just saw a couple observations that I just wanted to point out. I just found it really interesting just sitting back in the back and watching that all the people that have come up so far and that have been kind of trying to promote El Paso Electric, they seem to come in, talk, and then they're immediately gone. Like they don't have any really weighted interest in that. It just seems very interesting to me. And just that this increase, it definitely, I'm a waitress, so we feel any increases with how much that we get to take home. And so just even with just like last year, I know when my electric bill skyrocketed, because we got, the 113-degree weather and stuff and all that, when I got my bill and it went from usually being about $200 a month to suddenly being $450. That was not a surprise I was looking forward to. But we had noticed overall, just in general, that we lose a lot of customers and stuff, and our numbers go down, which then means our hours get cut, which then means that we have less in our pockets to then, to apply to things like air conditioning and such. And then the only other thing is real quick is just that El Paso Electric, they do these deals on things. Like I know they did one on the thermostats and stuff like that, which is nice, but like for a lot of us that use swamp coolers, those thermostats don't do anything, if you go right now on their website, I was looking the other day, they had a thing that said, hey, we offer all these things, at a discounted price and all that. And I was like, okay, well, let me see what's on there. And I went on there and it's shower heads. Why is El Paso Electric promoting shower heads? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know, but that's all. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Jim Hurst, as in William Randolph Hearst, spelled different, no money, but other than that, it's all the same. I've observed in the last few months that citizens have lost confidence in their government and in the industries that seem to control our society. Citizens no longer feel that they live in a democratic state. They feel that the government is manipulated by capital and that humans are the least of our government's considerations. They feel that our environment is essential and that our government is derelict in its stewardship of our environment. We perceive that our technical ability to generate energy at acceptable cost is ignored, and that profit is the only motive. And that has created an environment where business is not welcome and where businesses aren't heard. I don't know whether or not El Paso Electric's request is reasonable. I'd have to be an expert to know that. But I can tell you most of my fellow citizens have lost all confidence in experts. Nobody believes anybody anymore. And that's a real bad situation, because to move forward, we're going to have to work together. But nobody's in the mood to work together. Everybody thinks we're all being screwed. So I don't know what you can do to restore public confidence, but it's not there now. And we're going to need it in the future. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll go with the sign up sheet first. So if you've signed in, you're about to get called. Mr. Williams? Oh, Randall, okay.
No, Robert.
Robert,
Yes,
okay. And then
yes.
after Robert, Michael. Last name starts with a C.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Floor-
hello.
Yeah, please say your name so that court reporter can get it right. 'cause
Okay.
I got it wrong. So-
Got you. My name is Robert Williams. I just heard about this meeting going on like an hour ago. Otherwise, I would have prepared something. I don't know where, it was a neighbor that gave me the information. So I've been going to city council asking about, what they were gonna do about this increase. I'm a small business owner. I'm a student getting my MBA in business. I don't have a lot of money. And I don't know like how we got to this point. I know JP Morgan has their hand in El Paso Electric. Is that correct? Can somebody answer that to me? And then they also have their hand in the data center that's going into Santa Teresa. It feels like we're just, going backwards. Doesn't matter what we say, even though there's more people in the public than our elected officials. I don't know if you guys realize that. It's getting to like a boiling point. I can barely afford things. I'm trying to start a business because that's what I have to do. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm a student trying to make ends meet. I can't afford this increase. I know you guys can't even afford it. It's expensive. So I wish that things like this would be a little more open to the public. I don't know where you guys had like your advertisements and everything, but for me to hear it like now is crazy. And I think that if there was more exposure to this, there'd be more people here. I mean, I can't think of how many people can afford $42 or 73% more on their electric bill, especially with the heat that we have and in the wintertime with the cool. I mean, this is a very impoverished community. And it seems like no matter what we do, we can never dig ourselves out of it. And, I know regardless, this is probably going to go south. This is probably going to pass because I don't have faith in our elected officials. I don't have faith in our government anymore. And this is way before the 2016 election. I've seen like it going down and there's nobody there to save us. And I know that that's why I have a business. I'm trying to save myself. So what I'm trying to say is just like, you guys got to dig deep. I don't know where you guys started and think about when you started out, wherever you were at, what affected you, and think about how everything that you guys are doing and your decisions you make, how it affects everybody else. And to remember that even though there's only a few people here, there's a lot more like public people out there, people out in the public that when they find out, this is going to be pretty horrific. And so just kind of keep that in your heart and do whatever you can. If you guys are against it, please go against it. We don't need any more corporations running what we got going on. I think that we can be a little more sufficient. And then another thing, like how in the heck do we have all these solar communities? I was getting to that and we're still getting a hike, like in an electric bill. So I don't know how that's supposed to help and they're profiting off of that. We have communities with solar panels and that's not doing anything. So anyways, thank you guys for your time and have a good day.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Michael. And his last name starts with a C. Your handwriting.
Hello, good evening. My name is Michael Candelaria. I'm just a homeowner like the previous gentleman. I recently found out about this, like recently buying a home and then starting a new family, all these added expenses with everything else that keeps going, the costs go up. It just seems like it's a drastic change to happen all at once. I feel like there should be something better as far as how we would work with the community if something needed to be changed to like gradually do some increases versus such a drastic change in a very short amount of time. And then so I'm really looking forward to hearing more about what is going to be done, plans on going forward, and how we can help the community as far as prepare for this type of change in the future. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Again, I'm Rocky Backus, just for the record. For the last several years, I've been on the P&M's PRAC committee, which is their pricing committee to develop pricing rates. And I think it's important to look at what some of the other utilities are doing and how that impacts. PNM does not charge demand charges except during the peak hours. El Paso Electric charges it 24/7. What that does is make efficiency measures and solar virtually worthless. Because if 80% of your bill is the demand charge and 15 minutes once in a year locks you in for the next 11 months, it makes it very difficult to make anything else work, especially if it was a time when it wasn't on peak anyway. So I would recommend that there be effort to allow eliminating demand charges altogether. For utilities that now have smart meters, eliminating demand charges and being able to say, okay, you can have different prices for when the utilization is greater, and that is a better and fairer way to have your pricing done. I was going to ask if you see value in JP Morgan and are they doing what they said was going to be good for El Paso when they bought the utility? It was supposed to make it better. Based on this rate increase, I don't think they fulfilled their promise. Regarding data centers. Data centers are a huge deal, and I'm doing some consultation work on Project Jupiter. They're filing for additional capacity. They initially filed for 5,500 megawatts, which is more than all of PNM and El Paso in New Mexico combined. They've since revised that into fuel cells at 2,650 megawatts. That's still over 5.5 times all of El Paso Electric's output in New Mexico at about 480 megawatts. It is very much the tail wagging the dog to have rates where you want to have data centers be part of a system. It's really, 480 versus 2,650 just doesn't make sense. You may or may not know that El Paso Electric filed bankruptcy in 1992. And a federal bankruptcy judge then set the rates for the next a little over 20 years. And people residentially paid for that for bad investment decisions. Allowing that again could lock residential ratepayers in for a lot longer than 20 years if there's a loss of a data center. My time's up. I'll have a little bit more if I come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine Dobbin. And then Timothy Smith after Christine.
Hello, I am from La Union, a rural area, really in the south part of our county. And I wanted to let you all know that we have almost double the rate of hospital admissions for heat-related illnesses than the state average, and more than 50% more emergency room visits. We have community members dying in their homes that are fully equipped with working cooling systems because they cannot afford to pay their electric bill. We have folks dying from heat stroke in the ambulance on the way to a hospital because it kills in minutes and they live too far away from any clinic or source of help. These cooling centers open at 100 degrees. We know people drop dead at 90. What would you have these folks do with an even bigger electric bill? How many of their kids are they going to be able to feed? Will they have to pick? Last summer, my 7-year-old cousin had a grand mal seizure. That's a full body seizure on the playground in front of all of his friends because of the extreme heat that led to electrolyte imbalances. They actually had to bring a therapist in. It was so scary for the kids. And when he got home from the hospital, our power was out because of a fire risk. So these rolling brownouts come, and who cares if you even have the money, the energy isn't there. We live less than 8 miles from the generational disaster of Project Jupiter. It's already keeping us awake all night with tons of massive bright lights that stay on all 8 or 9 hours. And they don't seem to have a problem paying that electric bill. They pay it every night, and they have been doing so for months. Who knows how many more hospital wristbands my little cousin has to get before people will start listening. This rate case that's going on here right now is happening while El Paso Electric is giving away free home batteries, up to 2. to anyone who wants them and $500 to anyone who takes a battery. In 2020, El Paso Electric came to you and tried to line their pockets at our expense. 2026 is absolutely no different. Thank you so much.
My name is Timothy Smith, and I'm a resident of Las Cruces and an El Paso electric customer. And I just would like to say that I think that this is an incredibly inflationary that will spread across more than just our utility bills. It'll impact food costs. It'll impact our taxes eventually, because the rates are going to be increased on public services and public government agencies and our school districts. So they're going to have to raise their taxes as well. And so it has a long-term effect. I'd also like to point out that a lot of this cost appears to be from either data center agreements or from the fact that our legislature and governor mandated green energy deals, and those have to be paid for. And that we're now, as the taxpayers, finally having to understand the cost of that kind of a transition without it being carefully thought out ahead of time. And I think we need more natural gas generation and in order to be able to create a more competitive price structure. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez, anybody else online?
Mr. Chair, we have one person who spoke earlier who would like to speak again.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's we're in yes. Repeats. So.
Jose, are you there on Zoom?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead and provide your comment.
Thank you. Jose Acosta, retired resident of Las Cruces. So I think most of us understand that cost of living continues to go up. And this includes El Paso rate hikes. This particular proposed rate hike substantially is excessive based on most opinions expressed so far. And for the most part, we public members, and especially retirees and other groups that have spoken, don't have deep pockets. Utilities do have deep pockets, as well as the investors. El Paso Electric should be denied rate hikes altogether with respect to this specific request. El Paso Electric can submit a lower and more reasonable rate increase request. So, with the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission, deny this rate increase altogether. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Beckus. I don't think there's anybody behind you, so why don't you just go ahead and finish?
Commissioners, Rocky Backus again, I very much appreciate the time and your consideration. This rate case has an unprecedented, unbelievably large amount of distribution additions. 197 million out of the 408 million of additions are for distribution. And that's an area that multiple seminars for utilities have said, do that because it won't get checked. And looking at the detail of them is where a lot of things are going to get argued, but I would encourage you to look at the fact that the 2015 case, we had 3 weeks. We actually had to come back after Thanksgiving. We had 3 weeks of hearings. And if you limit it to 2 weeks, and if you have just a 9-month case schedule, you're very much squeezing a giant increase into a time frame that's probably inadequate. So I would encourage you to consider more time. I would also encourage you to think about some of the things in the way rates are done and way they're allocated. Utilities want to have commercial business, and they know the higher the commercial rates are, the fewer customers they're going to get. The most famous one was always the, I won't give the number, but a very large customer over in El Paso. They said, if you raise the rate, we'll do our own power. And so there's a tendency and a financial interest in allocating a lot of things to residential because they typically don't have anybody speak for them. There's almost no residential people that are going to read 6,000 pages. It's just very much a barrier to having them come in. In this rate case, the proof of income, proof of revenue that El Paso Electric has submitted, you look at it and rate 9 large power primary service is at about 5.3 cents a kilowatt hour. How much higher can residential be when the only difference is distribution? Your main costs are production, then the transmission, then the distribution, then the overhead. That's the main areas, right, for utilities. But from rate 9 primary voltage at 5.3 to residential at 14.9 is almost triple. There's no rational way to say that the distribution made the rate triple. It's just not logically possible. And when you have to go through literally thousands of pages to say, okay, was this allocated properly? Did this get allocated to commercial? Should it have been to residential? There's a financial reason to allocate it the way it's allocated. And I would tell you that this is not if you put in the interruptible rate, it's a much bigger difference than just triple. And that's only for large customers that they allow that. And so I want to encourage talking to your staff, to your people and saying, look, don't automatically assume that any idea that's new or different should be dismissed. Don't say that, okay, if a utility person says it, then that must be right, and an expert from somewhere else must be wrong, or the utility one must be given more weight. In fact, some of the experts that I know are going to be used have far more experience, far more credibility. One of them was the chairman of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission for the longest serving time. He's got a lot of capability and a lot of knowledge. But if he's thrown away, he doesn't know this particular utility, I don't think that's a fair reason to exclude or to downgrade testimony that is probably much more competent than the ones that are otherwise being heard. A person of a utility that may have been there for 10 or 20 years, but he's only been at that utility, doesn't necessarily know best practices everywhere. I'll just conclude by saying, please ask your staff to say, go by the rules. Don't give greater weight to someone because they're a utility. Staff always has a concern that if we do what some intervener says, the utility will say, oh, we're going to not be able to produce power. And then you as the commission are going to get blamed. But the reality is, utility has an obligation to provide the power, and JP Morgan can't say they don't have the money to do it. They just don't. They have to perform. They're legally obligated to perform. But the staff also knows that if they go against anything the utility says, they're automatically, it's going to be appealed to the Supreme Court. They're going to get a lot of hassle factor. And they're going to say, I don't have the time to do it. I don't want to do that. It's much easier to say no to the community than to say no to the utility. And I would just encourage you to say, make it a fair fight. You can expect it to go to the Supreme Court. No matter what, they've all gone to the Supreme Court, so it's going to go anyway. Please make it fair. Please consider what's going to be done in a fair and equitable manner. Thank you very much.
So one more sign up, Casey Newland.
Good evening. My name is Casey Nolan. I am an employee of El Paso Electric. I have held multiple field positions within the company. More importantly, I am a lifetime resident of Las Cruces. Born here, raised here. I am part of the community. One thing I want to touch on is that as part of this community, as many others have mentioned, I was basically raised in somewhat of a poverty situation. Due to El Paso Electric being a strong utility, able to pay fair wages, That has drastically changed my overall outlook in life. I would like to talk about the fair pay and career growth within the company. El Paso Electric's long-term presence in our community has meant steady, good paying work and real career growth for employees across El Paso and southern New Mexico. That kind of stability doesn't happen at a struggling company. While rate increases are tough for every customer, including employees and their families, financially sound utility is what protects fair wages, safe working conditions, and long-term careers our workforce counts on. Supporting a healthy EP means supporting the people behind us. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so that concludes the folks who have showed up today so far and have asked for the opportunity to speak. We noticed this meeting until 7 and we're gonna be here till 7. So anyway, what I'll do is just take a break till 6:30. And you're welcome to stay. We'll be here. And then if more people come and would like to provide comment, we'll take that starting at 6:30. So we're in recess until 6:30. Thank you. spin up your machine again. You ready? Okay, well, we will resume. We have Mr. Dan Romero is here and he signed in to provide a public comment. If you're ready, sir. And then after that, we'll just take a show of hands, and if Mr. Romero is,
I thought it started at 7 o'clock. 47?
yeah,
You're gonna
47.
get the last word. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Well, serendipity, you're here before 7. So,
I'm glad I showed up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and thank PRC for coming to Las Cruces. I did attend El Paso Electric's one of their public community meetings. All it was placards. There was nothing there for the citizens to read or understand what was going on. I actually went on the state site, and this was a couple of months ago, but every page had a download, which was impossible. So today I was actually able to go on the El Paso Electric website. I think it was a 1,230-page document. And I guess my concerns are, one, there's no documentation that a resident can find out why El Paso Electric needs to increase their billing fee, which is $7, which I don't understand that, to $14 and then to $18.50 in 18 months. That's the first thing. There is nothing for any resident to ever see that. The second thing is, in the document early on, there's a graph that shows the usage of about 600 megawatts in 2026. And then it's a scale that goes up, and maybe in 40 years, they're showing the use of close to 6,000 megawatts. So there's no way possible we're going to do that. So why is El Paso Electric projecting this huge amount of electricity use in the future? And then, of course, generating the grid and everything for that when we don't even have any proof that's going to be like that. My bill, it shows a renewable energy surcharge, I guess, and that's to decommission it's decarbonizing plants, gas plants. Well, last year it was 1.2 cents per kilowatt. Now it's 2 cents. Public never got any notice, ever. So is that something that was already approved years ago? So I guess my concern as a resident is there's a lot of things that are going on. I stay pretty much every month. I look at my electricity bill because I'm from California. I'm just amazed at how nice it is to live in Las Cruces. And hot weather, I used 1,100 kilowatts. My bill was 120. 24 of it was the charge. And another $31, and then a couple. I think we get charged $3.62 for the smart meter. That is part of El Paso Electric's process to accurately gauge how much a resident is using. That's passed on to the residents again. So there are fees. I understand some sort. I mean, I understand, like, I use my credit card, I got to pay 3.5%. But what I don't understand is El Paso Electric asking for a rate increase with no documentation. I shouldn't have to read 1,235 pages to find out what I need. It should be simplified. They say they have a public event with placards with no proof of what they're asking for. I couldn't even, they didn't even have a PowerPoint with the placards. I was lucky enough to get one of the reps to send me pictures of it. But again, they're supposed to be open about this. Your job as public regulators is to make sure that El Paso Electric is informing the public. And I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to talk. One other thing, there's a commission that was started years ago to decarbonize gas plants. And that's part of that fee that we pay. Last year, I was able to go on the internet and find that commission. Can't find it anymore. Is it still there? Thank you very much.
yeah, thank you, sir, for being here. I'm glad we got you before 7. Okay, so just checking around the room. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a public comment? I already told Rico that employees should wear new Lobo hats, not New Mexico state hats, but if he's counting votes, right? Anybody else online, Patrick? No? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and conclude the public comment session here today. I mean, public comment is very valuable to me in my work, and I'm grateful that so many people showed up today and really provided thoughtful comments that were reflective of where they're at and what their reaction is to the application. As I said in the opening, we're still pretty early in this process, right? So the next step is testimony from parties who've intervened in this case. They have the opportunity to hear what was said today also, and then we'll get the transcript uploaded to the case folder as soon as we can. And that will be available for anybody who wasn't here or wasn't able to do it. And then there will be more examination of the thousands of pages that will occur over the next few months, and then a hearing in September, and then decision by us later this year. And so if everything's on schedule, if there is a change in rates resulting from this application, it'll take place early next year. So that's the process we're at. Again, not just helpful to hear public comments, but that folks were able to make it out here today at this point in the process. And if you're interested, you know, we've tried to do a lot of the things that people talked about today are things that we're attempting to do, and would appreciate feedback on that also. So there's a web page, E360, new electronic docketing system. It should help you track this case as it goes along better than what we had before. But again, that's a work in progress too. So as you work with that thing and you've got suggestions on how we can make it better, we'd love to hear that too. And if you are listening to this and you'd like to provide a public comment, always you can submit in writing. We still check the mail. And then we've also got a portal on the E360 page for electronic public comments. And as the months go on, we will continue to have public comment in our open meetings. And so we're just many opportunities, but today was special. Again, thank you to Doña Ana County for allowing us use of this facility in our efforts to make sure that we don't just get stuck up in Santa Fe and forget that there's the rest of New Mexico out there. We are committed to getting out to the state, and I promise you we will be back here again soon. So again, thanks to everyone who participated today, and this concludes our session.